Okay, Ralph McTell, welcome to Australian Musician.
Thank you very much.
Ralph, if I can go way back, what was the spark that lit your flame for music in the first place?
Well, I'm a child of the 50s. My memories start actually in the 1940s. So if you remember the popularity of the harmonica, every little boy had a mouth harp, or we used to call them a harmonica, or actually colloquial, a gob iron. But little lads wandering around playing harmonicas and learning how to pick out tunes. So that would be certainly by the age of 6 or 7, I was could get a tune out of a harmonica. And then my granddad was quite impressed and gave me his one-string fiddle without the string on it. And I scraped away on that for a bit. But it really was, what lit me up was probably the skiffle period, like it was for most of us. We started off, I was privileged to be one of Lonnie's guests at his celebration at the Royal Albert Hall. And just the host of musicians that were there, from Van Morrison to Jazz and Dave and Joe Cocker, we all started off with Lonnie and the skiffle thing. And then I kind of cooled a little bit. I liked Elvis Presley when I was about 10, and he had a guitar as well. But really, it was what lit the fire absolutely for me was probably, and it's fair to say, it was Jack Elliott, known as Ramblin' Jack Elliott, who was an acolyte of Woody Guthrie and traipsed around with Woody and learned Woody's songs. And his synthesis of American music, I found absolutely riveting. I got the album Jack Takes the Floor, 10-inch LP, and just was transported. The Woody Guthrie songs, especially because they were socially of interest to me, they said more than just pop tunes, but Americana, as it's now called, and then just a little bit of a taste of the blues, which still occupies me. Fingerstyle blues players like the Piedmont style of Blind Boy Fuller and Blind Blake and Reverend Garen Davis, they still enchant me and trance me, and I'm still playing that stuff. So there you go, that's my history really. And then everything else, when I can find beauty in almost all music now, of some sort, but that's what I do for a living. Those are the elements that I hope are in my songs.
Yeah, because you were born Ralph May and took the name McTell, I assume, from Blind Willie.
Right, it was only Blind Willie McTell until I came along, and now there's only me, because it's a name there's no such clan as the McTells. It was a registrar that couldn't spell McTavish, I think, so the story goes. So he just put McTell, and I rather like that name. And I did try to go back to my original name. It didn't hurt, Brian May, but it's something about 2 syllables. Brian May sounds like, but Ralph May, it's a bit too abrupt, so I changed it to McTell, and it was probably a good choice.
Yeah. Has the way you write songs changed much since you began writing songs?
Yes, because at first I believed the guitar would inspire everything, and my first probably 3 albums, possibly 4 albums, were all music first. And whatever the accompaniment was, I had to blend the lyric into that accompaniment, it's kind of difficult because music is its own driver often. So to fit the words in on the top of those tunes was a challenge. And then I decided, no, there were other things. You could write the words first and then find the tunes. The only trouble with that is that the tunes could all sound the same. You could drop into a formula. So, I had to break that mold and put strange chords in, and then make those strange chords not sound strange because of what goes on before them. So I don't have a fixed way anymore. Sometimes the songs are born from the guitar accompaniment that hasn't even got words, and sometimes it's the other way around.
Yeah, you mentioned maybe gravitating towards the same chords and trying to avoid that. What kind of tools do you use to avoid writing the same things? Do you use a capo a bit?
I have done, but my voice seems to sit quite comfortably with any chords I throw in the first 3-4 frets. So I'm pretty well, I can do from low A to G in a bit, with comfort, I think, and the odd high note above that even. So everything I want in the cowboy chord positions is good. It's the voicings of those chords, of course, that makes the difference. And because I don't read music, I can't tell you what they are. But I can, by moving the fingers around and not hitting the chords exactly as they're written with barres and so on, but maybe an odd dissonant string in there will give a song. I don't use open tunings very much. Having said that, on this last tour, I've been doing 2 tunes in open D, and that is D, A, D, F sharp, A, D, you know, that chord. I love that. But I've never mastered Dadgad, although I knew Davy Graham quite well as anyone would have known Davy Graham, who kind of invented that tuning. And I'm a great admirer of the voicings that the guys get, a lot of musicians get from that tuning. But I'm pretty conventional. I do drop the E string to D quite a lot as well. I like that sound as well, having that low boot.
Are you an archiver of song ideas? Do you have spare parts of songs laying around?
Well, not exactly. If something is oh, that sounds good, how can I weave that into something? And I'll do it now. But occasionally, yes, I have gone back and said, oh, perhaps that will fit there. And it does. There's a song called Still in Dreams, where I had 2 tunes, and I found that by putting them together, they actually enhance each other. So, yeah, I don't throw anything away. I think everything I've written has ended up on tape or been recorded eventually. Maybe 1 or 2 out there that haven't been, but they will be.
Yeah, we're speaking to you because you're coming to Australia in February on the Streets of Oz tour. Clearly, the streets of London have been kind to you in song. Do you write many songs on the road, or do you prefer to be stationary?
No, I noodle. I'm a great noodler on the guitar. I'm never far from my guitar. There's one on my couch at the moment. There's one in every room. I've got lots of guitars. I'm not going to tell you how many because it's embarrassing. Anyway, I don't actually know. I haven't counted them lately. But I love acoustic guitars. They've all got their own voices for me. And I'm never far. So if I'm in a hotel, the first thing I do is throw the guitar on the bed, open the case and take the guitar out before I unpacked anything and have a quick noodle, make sure everything's all right. And that's actually the trouble with being in a hotel room and being away. You know, it's going to kind of fix the agenda for what you want to write about. It's going to be homesick. It's going to be more than it could be. It's very seldom but you get a complete idea in a hotel room of a song. But certainly playing and noodling and trying little things when nobody's in the house. It's like when my house is empty and there's no one in it, I do my best work. Because I'm kind of performing otherwise, you know, I'm aware of my wife in the kitchen or someone downstairs doing something, you know. So I think, oh, you're performing, no, don't do that. And it's much better when there's no one there. And that's the hotels provide that opportunity, I think.
Yeah. Are there any of your guitars that you're more emotionally attached to than others?
Oh yeah, my God. It sounds a bit soft really, but the Reverend Gary Davis, who's one of my guitar heroes, I had the great good fortune of meeting him back in the day in 1971. I introduced him on his last show in London. His guitar was a J200 and Gibson J200, and he called it Miss Gibson. I have a J45 from 1952, and her name is Miss Gibson too. And so she's my favorite, man. That song, 90% of everything I've written has emanated from those strings on that guitar, and I absolutely love it. I brought it to Australia on the previous, well, let me think, certainly 12 of the visits. But the last time I came, the weather was so hot. I must be mad if this split of being cold in an aircraft and all that, you know, all that way. So I might not bring it. Well, in fact, I've made it. My manager, my son, has said to me, Dad, you've got to get another guitar for Australia. And I have got a lot to choose from. So I will be bringing an old classic, but it won't be my favorite. My Miss Gibson will be staying at home.
How many guitars do you usually travel with?
Well, on this last tour of Ireland, I took 5 because I have a national and I have a 12-string and I have a 6-string and I have an open tune 6-string and I have a spare. But to Australia, I should just be bringing a jack of all trades. I might perhaps some kind of guitar company might lend me a 12-string if I need one. But it's always that nursing it and that horrible fear you have of airlines testing your case for you by dropping it on, you know. So I think I've got enough songs to make a variable program on one guitar. So I'll probably be bringing one.
Yeah. How long did it take you to get a good live acoustic sound that you were happy with? Was that quite a journey?
Yes, it was, because I did the Isle of Wight Festival in 1970, when the last Jimi Hendrix show, and I had two mics, two Shure, regular Shure, what are they, 38s, one on the guitar. I've seen the pictures, one on the guitar, one on my voice, and there were 500,000 people there. You know, the problem with an acoustic guitar is it's a sensitive creature, and it hears notes that you don't want it to hear, and then they get amplified and they cause horrendous low-end feedback. I got away with that show. I don't know how, and I've tried just about every pickup under the sun. But recently I've discovered a pickup that works perfectly for me and actually reflects the sound of my sweetheart, my Miss Gibson. And I've put them in every guitar I have. And I allow my sound engineer to EQ the nasties out of it, and I'm ready to go to work. Yeah. You want the name of it? I can tell you the name of it if you want.
Yeah, sure.
It's called a Trinity, K and K Trinity. It's a passive pickup, goes inside the body of the guitar, sits on the bridge plate, and there's three little pickups between 1 and 2, 3 and 4, 5 and 6. And they go down to 2 leads and a jack end pin, and it's a fabulous, natural, almost microphonic sound, I think.
Yeah. So what can we expect from the upcoming Australian tour? Is there a batch of new songs you're keen to sing?
There will be, yeah, there will be some, Greg. The thing is, I think it's a little bit indulgent to expect an audience to enjoy all new songs. So, but I will be playing songs from the latest album, the one that reunited me with Tony Visconti after God knows how many years, 40 years, I suppose, since we did the first one. The album's called Hill of Beans, and there will be a few songs definitely from that, but I can go back as far as 1968 and pick songs out from all the intervening years. And so it'll be a varied program. And if there's a nice piano there, I mean nice piano, meaning a grand piano, because I'm not much of a pianist, but I love to play the piano as well. Let's say I like to use the piano and play a few songs on that as well.
Yeah. Well, what do you like about working with Tony Visconti?
Well, he is the most natural guy. He treats every performer and musician exactly the same, and he hasn't wavered in that. He makes you feel you've got something to say. He makes you feel relaxed. He just says, hey, let's walk around the block. We'll come back to that one. Let's do something else, Ralph. We'll have a look at it. And he just knows how to manage sensitive people, because when you're letting your babies go, these are your babies. These are, especially if they're not rock and roll, which is another drive. You can need some, but if you want to get an intimate feel and you're trying to get coax a particular sound or a feel from a song, Tony has that intuitive kindliness about him, and I love working with him, and he knows his stuff. He's got a tremendous record of successes with such a variable, so many different types of music. So he's been great, and it's lovely to renew a friendship that's we've sustained more or less over the 50 years that we've known each other.
Yeah. I was listening to your recording of The Unknown Soldier, which features spoken word moments by Billy Connolly, Anthony Hopkins, and Liam Neeson. How did that all come about?
Well, how kind of you to mention it. One of the great things for me is that Eric Bogle, your Australian Scotsman who has written so many wonderful songs, he's like me. We're obsessed with that period because that's when our islands changed forever, I think. That was the first mass slaughter, of young men and patriotism and all those confused ideals, both poetic and, heroic. And there's something so incredibly moving about the sacrifice made by those young men. And I, and probably Eric, am old enough to have had living contact with soldiers from that period. My grandfather and 2 of my uncles returned from the war. And as a little boy, I wondered about who is the unknown soldier? And my mum used to say, well, that's what we'll never know. And everybody thinks it might be their boy if he didn't come home. So I thought finally I've got to do something. And the more I got involved with it, I went right back to my childhood and the bit of colour that Armistice Day used to bring to the town when the soldiers marched through to the cenotaph in Croydon, where I grew up. And the Salvation Army played the last post. And I got the shivers from, even as a kid. And it's taken me a long time. We were sitting together when I've already did one recording. So let's do one with, let's get real brass in and real. And then I sort of got the idea of the voices of the home nations in particular, and these islands, England, and don't forget Ireland was still, part of the British Isles when the war broke out. And Liam Neeson just said straight away, "Oh yeah, I'm your man," and he recorded his verse. And Anthony Hopkins said yes straight away. And of course, Billy, I've known for hundreds of years, and I love the way it starts with that Scottish voice. And so I represent England, Billy Scotland, Anthony Wales, and Liam Ireland. It couldn't be better, and I'm so proud of it. And we've had we put it out every year. It's just picked up a lot more, just raised a bit more money for the appeal, Veterans Appeal, and I hope it'll be around for a very long time.
Yeah. You've been to Australia many times. What are your strongest memories of Australian tours?
The warmth and honesty and the openness of the people. That's what brings me back over and over. There's a sense of reality, and there's also a sense of dreams. It means that it's meant so much to the British working class who emigrated. I was nearly a POM. My dad hadn't left home. He'd already signed the papers, but he left home early and we never made it. But like Eric, I would have been a kid going out to Australia. It represents hope. It's industrious. I love the mixture of cultures. I've watched Australia change from the first time I came out in the 70s to where it's at now. I think it's an exciting, vibrant place, and I feel at home there. And I think it's because we've got roots, with families going back to the home nations. I love the straight talking as well, and the get on with it approach. No whinging, get on with it. Get on with the job. I love that. And I've got a great Australian pal here who looks after our publishing, and he's been keeping me going through some dark times. We all get those, and we wouldn't be writers and musicians if we didn't. But his attitude is fantastic, and my other Australian friends that I'm looking forward to seeing. So each time I go, I think, is this going to be the last? No, I'm never going to say it's my last tour, because you just don't know. But to be realistic now, I am getting on a bit, so we'll see how it goes. But I'm looking forward to this one with as much relish as all the others.
Yeah. Do you have any bucket list projects in the back of your mind, things you still want to do that you haven't got around to?
Well, my son thinks that there's a Nashville album there for me. I'm doing an album at the moment that connects me very strongly with Ireland, with whom I feel a connection, although I'm not Irish. But a number of very, very fine, incredibly talented musicians and artists have agreed to. Well, I've said yes, they want to do it. They're covering my songs that connect me with Ireland. So that's one project. The Nashville album, still there. I've done my acoustic blues album. I don't know that there's a lot. I just let the music carry me. It's been pretty good so far where it's taken me, and I think that I shall just wait until the muse comes, and if I'm strong enough and able, I shall be making it till I drop.
Yeah. What are you most proud of in your career?
In my career, well, I suppose hanging in there, keeping a marriage together, surviving, my kids. Music is it's what I've done with my life. So all of it, really. I think all of it. And the fact that I've raised 4 kids and we're a happy, very united and strong family, that's the biggest achievement. I would leave it to others to say if I've made any difference in music and songwriting, leave it to others. But I know that it gives me tremendous satisfaction when I've written a song that I don't record it it never gets any further if it's not up to standard. So I set the bar quite high for myself. I work to the best of my ability, put it that way, Greg.
Yeah. I was going to wrap up, but I've just thought of one question I forgot. I assume you saw the Big Train comedy sketch about...
Yeah.
streets of London, which like
I didn't get it at first, but I've been asked about it so many times. I get it now. It took a little while, but I get it now. Yeah. The other one, of course, is the French and Saunders sketch where I'm the fall guy in that as well. It's partly true, I guess, but as far as the public is concerned, but it might surprise you to know that I'm very seldom asked to play Streets of London. I guess that people know I will play it, but it's wonderful to think just how many songs mean other things to people, and they form the requests. And they usually, not because of the sparkling guitar playing or the complexity of the thing, but it's the sentiment of the song that gets them, you know. So
I guess you've really made it when comedy shows start doing sketches about your music.
I guess that's probably a fair comment. Yeah, when you become game for, when you become fodder for the comedians, that's okay with me. I've got a big pair of shoulders. I can take it now.
Well, Ralph, it's been a pleasure to chat with you, and we look forward to seeing you in February in Australia on the Streets of Oz tour.
Can't wait. Thank you so much, Greg. It's been lovely talking with you, mate. All the very best.
Thank you.